Hello and welcome to USR1 Retro and to this episode where I'm going to be showcasing my Canon Laserdisc collection. Now these are all discs I've picked up over the past few years. There are many Canon films which I haven't actually picked up on Laserdisc because they're so damn expensive. I mean, just to give you a bit of an idea, I went to pick up Over the Top with Sylvester Stallone, the arm wrestling film, which I think is a really good film, really good drama. It's something very different for Stallone, and it's one that I want on Laserdisc, and on eBay people are charging between $50 and $100 for a copy, and I was just like, no way in hell. Even I think the first two American Ninja films, anywhere between 75 and 150, and it's like, no. I'll stick to my Blu-ray copies for now. Saying that though, I have got a nice stack of Canon goodness on Laserdisc, and you know, we're going to start off with possibly my favourite Canon film. This is one that I first watched on Betamax. My dad had managed to get hold of a copy, and it turned out it was the US cut. It wasn't the full length, near enough 2-hour version with all a bit more of the violence, a bit more of the nudity intact. And we're actually going to start off looking at the international version, and it is, of course, Life Force. Now, as I say, this is possibly my favourite Canon film ever. You know, out of all the other ones, yeah, this is definitely my favourite one. It's just absolutely bonkers. I mean, absolutely bonkers. I mean, first of all, it's a science fiction movie. Then it's a vampire movie, then it's a zombie movie, and then it's an end of the world movie, to quote Leonard Maltin. It's literally all of these things all rolled into one, and it is a fantastic movie. I love this film. I mean, for near enough 2 hours, you know, I mean, you'll be subjected to some of the best special effects Canon has ever pretty much put out, and it's just an insane thrill ride. It really is. Some great performances. I mean, even Steve Railsback going a little bit over the top with his like shouty voice, but it all adds to it. And then don't forget, you've got the rest of the cast. You've got Peter Firth, you've got Patrick Stewart, you've got Aubrey Morris, you know, and then you've also got Nicholas Ball at the beginning. He's only in it for the first few minutes on the space shuttle. You've also got Michael Gothard as one of the people in charge of the European Space Centre in London. But yeah, this is the widescreen version. This is the only version that the extended international version came in. It never came in a full screen Laserdisc. But the thing is, the US version, I think, only came as full screen. You know, so basically we have both versions, and they are radically different. The international version, as I say, is on for nearly 2 hours. This is on for, if I can find it, 100 minutes. So they cut out 16 minutes of footage, and they also changed over most of Henry Mancini's music to Michael Kamen. They actually got him to re-score most of the film, and it kind of gives it, I don't know, with Henry Mancini's score, it gives it a kind of A movie feel, whereas Michael Kamen score, because it's all synthesizers and stuff like that, probably done on the cheap. It kind of brings it down to like a B movie, you know, like a straight to video kind of feel. But that's just me. But I do love both versions. I still think that the extended international version is the better version. It's the more complete version, and that's why I love it so much. But for me, the US version is another good version to watch, but it's more of an alternative version. It really is. But if you haven't seen Life Force, I highly recommend that you check it out. It's a classic, absolute canon classic, and it's done in the vein of Quatermass and the Pit, which again is another very highly recommended film. Very, very highly recommended film. And that was their intention, to make a modern Hammer Quatermass film, and for me it worked. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, even my wife watched the US cut. She prefers it to the international version, whereas I'm the other way around. But anyway, moving on to the next Laserdisc, and it is the first of Stallone's collaborations with Canon, and it is the action classic Cobra. Now, the story goes with Cobra that basically, when they brought on Stallone, he wanted to rewrite some of it and take out some of the humor, make it a straight action flick. Paramount didn't want that. They basically said that, I think it was that the story would cost too much money or something. I don't know. So basically, he ended up quitting and taking the story to Warner, and it became Cobra. And then Paramount hired Eddie Murphy and basically made Beverly Hills Cop. So yes, originally Sylvester Stallone was meant to have been in Beverly Hills Cop. How different would that have been? Stallone in Beverly Hills Cop. That'd have been pretty cool. Him being in a bit of a comedy. But anyway, Stallone's Cobra. Watched it again recently, and it's a classic film. Absolutely brilliant film. I definitely say, for me, it's up there in my top 10 Stallone films. Not my top 5. I've got a preset top 5, but definitely in my top 10. You can see where they've had to edit things down and, you know, do kind of tricks to basically get around the X rating that they originally got with the original cut. But I would love to see that extended cut, the original X-rated version with like all the violence and stuff. It makes it more, it's like a bit more of an action horror because of like how violent it really was. There was a TV cut out there. I've seen people sell it on eBay, and I am tempted to pick up a copy to see what it's like. When people are screaming, literally crying out for the work print version to be released so that we can see what it was really like, you know. Me included. I would love to see it, to see what it's like. But I mean, at a lean, I mean, I think it was something like 2 hours long or something. But this is like 87 minutes. So in an hour and a half, you could have some of the best action ever. Although you also get some of the worst acting with Bridget Nielsen. I mean, most of the time in this, she's fine. But there's a few scenes where it's some of the worst acting I've ever seen. It really is. But then the rest of the time, she seemed okay. So it seems as though she's got better as the film's gone on. But no, Cobra, good film. well worth checking out. I mean, it's always been one of my favourites, so definitely worth checking it out. Now the next one was again, I loved this film. In fact, the very first time I saw this, we picked up a copy in John Menzies in Harlow, and it was my first taste of this film. In fact, I've still got the VHS back in the UK, and I've actually surprised me with this about a year or so ago, and I was ecstatic, as I think this is an awesome film. I know that people moan about certain aspects of the film, but I like it. I like it, and it is Masters of the Universe, starring the legend Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella, who basically has a ball in the film as Skeletor. He really does. He's just chewing the scenery. He's having loads of fun. And apparently the story goes that he took the role because his kids were fans of He-Man. So he done it for them, and he ended up loving doing it. As I say, people moaned that they set most of the film on Earth, but that was due to budgetary constraints. I actually don't mind it being set on Earth. I think it makes it different, because then instead of it being just set on Eternia and just trying to rule the galaxy from there, like having to go to Earth and you know all this, that and the other. But I love the film. I love the special effects. I love the makeup effects of Skeletor and Langella. You know, it's absolutely fantastic. And the thing was that with the sword fight at the end, they'd actually run out of money, and they actually shut the production down. I think it was Mattel shut the production down. So what they had to do was they had to go in and film the final sword fight between Skeletor and He-Man on the sly. That's why none of the lights are on in the studio. And it's got a different look to it. It's all like handheld cameras and that. But I like it because it then puts you in the middle of the fight, and it's a pretty good fight actually. I would love for this to come out in 4K. I really would, with a load of special features. For 106 minutes. It's, every time I revisit it, it's like being a kid again. I love the film. Absolutely love the film. I mean, again, the whole cast is great. I mean, Dolph Lundgren, you got Meg Foster as Evelyn, again Frank Langella as Skeletor. Then you've got Chelsea Field as Teela. I think it's John Cypher as Man at Arms. I think so. Anyway, let me have a look. It doesn't really say. But yeah, you've also got the first ever pairing of Christina Pickles and Courtney Cox, who would in 1994, I think it's 94, 95, go on to play mother and daughter in Friends. So maybe it's foreboding, I don't know, but yeah. I just can't say enough how much I love that film. You know, I mean, I'm a big Canon fan. I mean, I've got loads of the Blu-rays in the UK. And, you know, I find near enough every single one of their films extremely entertaining. Always do. Especially the next one. Now, again, I've got two versions of this. And the first one I'm going to show off is the full screen version, which was released on the Canon Video label, and it is of course Cyborg, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme and Vincent Klin, and also Deborah Richter, who plays Van Damme's sidekick, and Dale Haddon as Pearl Prophet. Now, Dale Haddon was the cyborg of the film, and the story goes that the film was made using sets and props from the second Masters of the Universe film that never happened. All the props in that were all made, and then obviously because Canon had run out of money or something, they basically made Cyborg. So basically just reconstituting sets, and it was directed by Albert Pyan. Again, I love Cyborg. It's just a lean, I think it's 85 minutes. It doesn't actually say how long it's on for. Well. But anyway, it was done in '89. It's about 85 minutes. It might even be less than that. I know it's not on for very long. Yeah, it's a story about like a virus that runs rampant in the future and basically wipes out near like most of civilization. And Pearl Prophet, the titular cyborg, has got the cure in her memory banks after being turned into a cyborg by a doctor, so she could carry it safely and not, where it can be stolen from her. And then she gets kidnapped by a band of pirates led by Vincent Clint, and Van Damme, who plays Gibson Rickenbacker, is basically what's known as a slinger, and he has to go and save her and and fight all these bad guys, and that with like kung fu and this awesome weapon that he's got. It's like a gun, but it fires out like spears and that. It's proper cool. And it is a good film. It is a good film. I really love it. I mean, as I say, that's the full screen version by Canon Video, and this is the MGM release in full widescreen. This one, unlike the other one, has got the theatrical trailer at the end. There was a time on MGM releases where they would put the theatrical trailer on the end of side two, so basically at the end of the movie. Or if it's a three-sided film, it would be at the end of the film, as I say. But yeah, this is a proper awesome film to have on Laserdisc. It really is, and I'm so glad. The next one is one that I caught on TV many years ago, because my dad was a big Chuck Norris fan. He recorded it off of TV, and we watched it while it was recording, and it was a lot better than I thought it would be. It's not one of Chuck Norris's best, but it's still a damn good time. In where he fights, it's hard to explain it. I think he ends up fighting against one of Satan's disciples, I suppose you could say, in the form of Christopher Neame, and it is, of course, the Chuck Norris film, Hellbound. What can I say about Hellbound? It is a film that's basically, it's Chuck Norris against pretty much the devil. I mean, there's one bit where there's like a rabbi with a piece of a sacred dagger, and basically this bad guy, Helldenzian, whatever you call him, and he basically just rips the guy's heart out, just and it's like, wow, that's something different for a fucking Chuck Norris film. It really is. I mean, I've only seen it a few times, but it is a really good film. It's one that I need to watch again. It's basically, let's go through the story on the back. It says, a murder investigation whisks Shatter and sidekick Jackson to the Holy Land's windswept reaches. There they discover it's more than a murder case that hangs in the balance, it's the fate of the world. Human meddling has restored a powerful satanic messenger to life. Now all that stands in the way of the creature's plan for dominance is a mysterious downright and 2 policemen. The merciless being may hold the key to eternity, but Shatter and Jackson are never say die cops. So there you go. Again, it's a film that I've liked, and I still need to watch it again. I mean, this Laserdisc I bought for, I think it was $10 all in, like including postage, and it's still sealed. So I was pretty happy with that. In fact, I might have to crack that open and give it a watch at some point again, because it's been ages since I last saw it. Now, next in the Chuck Norris Canon Laserdisc collection is one that is definitely a stone cold Canon / Chuck Norris classic. Also starring Lee Marvin, Martin Balsam, Joey Bishop, Shelley Winters, and also Bo Svensson and Robert Forster. It is, of course, the Delta Force, which is partially based on real events with the hijacking of the plane and whatnot. Over 2 hours in length. It's, I think it was described at one point as a bit of a remake of Operation Thunderbolt that Menachem Golan directed in the late 70s. I think it was about 78, and had Sybil Danning, which I would love to see. I mean, this is Chuck Norris at his best, I think. I mean, riding a motorcycle with rocket launchers on the back, on the front, and mortar launchers on the back. You know, loads of explosive action, and with that cast, you know. And apparently this was Lee Marvin's final film before he would pass away, sadly, in 1987, I do believe. And it's also got Robert Vaughn in it as well as the general that they have to report to. So yeah, it's a bit of a top cast. Oh yeah, and also forgot, it's also got George Kennedy in it as Father William O'Malley, a priest. But no, it is a good film. It is a good film. I do like the music, because they actually managed to get Alan Silvestri to do the music for the whole film. And I'm like, wow, that's insane. How they managed to get him to do that, I don't know. But it is a good score, but there's some parts that seem to go on for too long, you know. But on the whole, I love Delta Force. In fact, I still remember the first time I saw it, and it was a Sky recording from by my dad. And we sat down and watched it, all of us, and yeah, it was my first taste of the film. And yeah, you can basically see where I'm going with many of these Canon films. Basically, what I saw when I was a kid through my dad either recording them off the telly or having them on Betamax, you know, which is probably why I love the Canon films quite a bit, because they just remind me of times with my dad, the same as westerns, as I said in my westerns western special about my dad. But yeah, Delta Force does come highly recommended. I mean, I'm glad to have this on Laserdisc. I mean, I've got it on Blu-ray as well. But yeah, this is such a good film. Such a good film. Some good performances on that. It's well worth 2 hours of your time. It really is. So the next one in the Chuck Norris Fest of Canon, or however you pronounce it, this was another one again that we had on Betamax and we recorded on VHS, and it also stars Richard Lynch, Melissa Prophet, and Billy Drago, although he's only in it for about 2 minutes. This is a film that's, again, I would love to see the alternate version of this, because apparently the story goes that when Malcolm Golan was cutting it in the editing suite, basically cut quite a bit out, and it was the, as the writer said, the heart and soul of the film. But I mean, I love it the way that it is, and it is Invasion USA, story of a tyrannical group made up of I think it's Russians, Mexicans, Germans, people from like Europe and that. They basically all band together in this like terrorist group, and they invade the US on a line cause like civil unrest and martial law and that. So basically they can slowly like take it over and that. And Chuck Norris is tasked with bringing the head of the group, Rostov, played by Richard Lynch, either to justice or kill him, you know. There's some great scenes in it. I mean, there's one at a church where they're setting the bomb up on the steps. They put the wire across the street, set up on the detonator. Oh, pardon me, on the detonator. And as they push the plunger down, they're waiting for it to blow up, and it doesn't blow up. And then you got Chuck Norris appears behind them, like on the roof of a building, and he shouts down, "Didn't work, huh?" So he throws the bomb down. He's got the wires in his hand, and he goes, "Now it will." Doom, doom. Bang! You know, it's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic film. It's definitely up there in my canon favourites, and one that I'll happily go back to time and time again. You know. Same with the next one. Now the story with this one is that this was actually filmed first, and the first film was filmed second. But they actually thought that the one that was filmed second was the stronger film, so they released that first. And this one was released as a kind of prequel, and it is missing in action to the beginning. Now again, this was a first viewing on Betamax, and again, I absolutely loved it. Basically, it starts off that they're like in Vietnam, and they all get captured during a battle, and they're taken all to this camp run by Soon Tek O. Colonel Yin, I think his name is in it. And Stephen Williams, who's also in it, he becomes kind of like a confidant to Colonel Yin under the promise of being released, and he keeps trying to get Braddock Chuck Norris to sign a confession for his war crimes, under the guise of, if you do, then you and your men will all go free. But you actually do get a feel of how sadistic Colonel Yin is through the film. I mean, there's one bit where Braddock is hanging upside down, and they put a rat in a bag. They put the rat on Braddock's head, tie it up, basically for torture. But instead, Braddock manages to get the rat between his teeth and like basically bite into it and kill it. And then there's another one where one of these other men gets. It looks like they're just about to execute him, like shoot him in the head. And they're saying to him, like, for crimes against the people of the Viet Cong, whatever, I sentence you to death. And as he puts the gun to his head, he pulls the trigger and it goes click, nothing comes out. So it's all that kind of mental torture to try and break him. I think, while I do like the first film, there is a lot of action in the first film. I think for me, the second film is the stronger of the two. Mainly because it shows you what Braddock went through in Vietnam, and like, what his friends went, like his squad went through, and stuff like that, you know. And it's such a great film. I mean, my wife even watched it for the first time, I think it was last year, and she even said, yeah, it was really, really good film. Which I was quite surprised at, but yeah, she really enjoyed it. And it's one that I keep going back to time and time again, because it's just so damn enjoyable. In fact, I think I've seen the second one more than the first, and I definitely won't entertain the third one, because I think that it's one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. So many contradictions to the series and that. So yeah. But anyway, that's the end of the Chuck Norris segment of the video. Now we move on to the other Chuck, and it's Charles Bronson. Yes, the legend that is Charles Bronson, from many films such as The Great Escape and the Stone Killers, and also the Death Wish series. And that is how we are going to start off. We're going to start off with the fourth in the Death Wish series, because I haven't got 1, 2, and 3. So yes, we're going to start off with Death Wish 4, The Crackdown, which has got John P. Ryan in as kind of the bad guy. It's kind of the bad guy. It's basically haunted by his violent past, architect Paul Kersey struggles to forget the brutal deaths of his loved ones and his obsessive one-man battle to avenge their murders. But when a dose of toxic crack kills the young daughter of his new girlfriend, Kersey becomes the infamous vigilante crusader, vowing to wipe out the entire cocaine network of LA. He skillfully goads two vicious competing drug empires into a bloody turf war. But there's a sinister force behind the scenes with his own diabolical plans for Kersey in this powerhouse action thriller. I think that explains it better than I could ever say. It's the one Death Wish film that I've watched the least, along with the first one. Although the first one is good, I find that the attack scene in 1 and even 2, especially the uncut version of Blu-ray, or the Umbrella Blu-ray, sorry. I find those attacks too hard to watch, you know. I do need to watch Death Wish 4 again, because I do remember it was a really good film. There was also a few mistakes in it as well, one of which has been basically memed to death. Especially on the Canon Group appreciation page on Facebook, and it's actually quite funny. There's a split second where before an explosion goes off, you can see that the real actors have been replaced with dummies, and they're really bad dummies. It's hilarious, but the thing is, it doesn't take away from the film. Plus, there's quite a few funny lines in it as well when he's caught in one of his prospective victims' apartments or something. I don't know, but yeah, it is a good film. It is a good film. As I say, not one of the best Death Wish films, but I really enjoy it. Now the next one is the last Death Wish film, and this one, it is a little bit of a cheat, because it was 21st Century Film Corporation, which was set up by Menachem Golan after he left Canon, but I still consider it a Canon film. I do consider it a Canon film because of the link of Menachem Golan. And it is Death Wish 5, The Face of Death. Now, I watched this again recently, I think it was last week. The film also stars Leslie Ann Down and Michael Parks. as the nefarious mobster Tommy O'Shea. And it's also got Saul Rubinek in it as the guy who helps Kersey out, and he's basically one of his friends. And you've also got Ken Walsh as Lieutenant King, and Ken Walsh is the one from Time Cop. He's on the committee for like giving funds out and that, and he was also the vice president in The Day After Tomorrow as well. So I was trying to think then. Yeah, he was also the vice president in The Day After Tomorrow, and he eventually becomes president. But basically Leslie Ann Down is a fashion designer, and Paul Kersey's going out with her. She has a daughter. And Tommy O'Shea's basically using her business to funnel money from like drug deals and gun running and stuff like that. It's basically is a piece of work, real piece of work, and he's quite sadistic as well. He's probably one of the most violent pieces of shit I've ever seen in my life. There's one bit at the very start where he's talking to this guy, and he's basically saying we're making like we're trying to funnel too much money. We need to find another way to do it. And basically he gets him on the table, and basically because he's a big guy, he basically turns around and says, in so many words, like, you need to come on a diet. So he gets like a power saw and starts cutting into the side of him, and that, and then he ends up having to go to the hospital and that. So he's a bit more sadistic, this one, for definite, than in Death Wish 4. But no, it's for 95 minutes. For 95 minutes, I think it's a good end to the Death Wish series. It really is. I mean, I always enjoy watching it. Always enjoy watching it. I mean, what other film has got death by poison on a cannoli and death by explosive remote control football? I tell you what, none. That's what. That's what I mean. It's a good bit of fun, especially with those two insane kills. It really is. Well worth checking out. Now the next one in the Charles Bronson Canon collection is one where it is a pretty good film. It's one that I didn't like at first. First time I watched it, I thought, no, I don't like this whatsoever. It's pretty crap. So I turned it off halfway through. So then when I watched it again, I think it was a few months later, I think this was on Netflix, when they were showing some good stuff instead of their own made crap. And I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. It's a nice little on the run thriller. Some of her insults do get a little bit grating at times, but that's just who she is. But the two characters do kind of get along after a while, you know. And yeah, it is a good film. It is a very good film. Again, not one of Bronson's best, but it's entertaining. In fact, you know what? The synopsis on the back can describe the story better than I ever can. When his ex-wife is brutally gunned down, all the evidence points to LA police veteran Jack Murphy. Framed for the murder he didn't commit, Murphy finds himself arrested and handcuffed to a foul-mouthed street punk, Arabella. Dragging the protesting girl behind him, Murphy hijacks a police helicopter, and the two unlikely allies set out to clear his name and to save their own lives. With his back against the wall, there's only one law: Jack Murphy doesn't blow to smithereens. Murphy's law. It is a good film. It is a very good film, and it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you like Charles Bronson like I do. Now the last one The last one was a first time watch again on Netflix when they were doing some good stuff on there, not so much now. And yes, there is some dodgy acting in it. It's a Canon film, what do you expect? But there are some there are some pretty good lines in it. There's one of them where he's with his daughter in the, I think it's the hospital cafeteria, because his daughter works in a hospital, and he picks up food and that, and as he's paying for it, she says, "Oh, is that what you're having?" Oh, he says, he says, "Yeah, well, something like that," and then she turns around and goes, "You only having quiche?" And he goes, "I thought it was pie." He goes, "No, it's quiche." And he goes, "I hate quiche," and he's already paid for it. It's just lines like that where it injects a bit of humour, and there, as I say, there are some bits that are a little bit, funny that shouldn't be funny, but again, 10 to Midnight is a really, really good watch. Really is. It's Gene Davis as Warren Stacy. He has a bit of a psycho in it. The next one is not a Canon film per se, but it was released in association with Canon Screen Entertainment, starring Matthew McCarthy and Kim Cattrall, with an appearance by G.W. Bailey. It is, of course, Mannequin. This is a great, charming little film. Quite a bit of comedy, a little bit of action near the end, and it's a film that we haven't seen on disc in the UK since the DVD. It's crying out for a Blu-ray release or even a 4K release. As I say, it's a charming little film. It's still great, and I still love watching it even now. I mean, the cast are absolutely top rate in it, and I mean, for 90 minutes you can't go wrong. Just don't check out the second one. The second one is utterly shocking, really is shocking. Just stick with the first and you'll be fine. Now the next one was a film that I checked out a while ago for the first time. In fact, I bought the DVD. Bought the DVD of both 1 and 2, and I thought, well, I'll check out number 1. I absolutely loved it, and it's also notable for the first on-screen Canon appearance of Jean-Claude Van Damme, and it is, of course, breakdance. Now this is the Japanese version. We also have the US version as well, but I can't find it at the moment. It's in one of the totes. But yeah, this is a cracking little dancing movie. It really is. So some of the moves in it are absolutely second to none. Really are. And there's nothing much I can say about this movie apart from just watch it. Just watch it. It is definitely up there for me as one of the best Canon movies. As one of the best Canon movies made. And basically, as one of them says in the Electric Boogaloo documentary, when Canon had their finger on the pulse with this, they didn't have it on there normally, but with this they did, and they struck gold with this, like cashing in on the breakdancing era in the early 80s. But no, it's a good fun film. There's some great scenes in it, some great dancing, and it's one that I love going back to every so often. Now the very last one is one that I have not seen, and I didn't know we had this until I think it was about 4 weeks ago. This one has got Sylvia Christel in it, and yeah,
Lady Chatterley's Lover. As I say, I have not actually seen this whatsoever. I don't even know if I can bring myself to watch it, although there's quite a bit of nudity. Actually, there's a lot of nudity. Yeah, a lot of nudity from what I remember seeing on the Electric Boogaloo documentary. And yeah, I can't really say much about that because I've not seen it whatsoever. But it's great to have it in the collection, even if it is a naughty film. Let's just say that, even though it is a naughty film. But yes, so that is the Canon collection we have at the moment. I'm always looking to try and add some more Canon goodness to the Laserdisc collection. But as I say, though, some of them are more expensive than others, which is a shame, really. As I say, I would love to add the first two American Ninja films. I'd love to add Over the Top. I'd love to add Death Wish 3 and Death Wish 2 as well. And a few of the others like Enter the Ninja, Revenge of the Ninja, and Ninja 3: The Domination. And also The Naked Face, starring Roger Moore, which I have on Blu-ray in the UK, and it's a fantastic little thriller. It really is. It's a great film and well worth checking out if you're a Canon fan like me. So yeah, but anyway, that's it for the Laserdisc Canon collection, and sadly that is it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed looking at this Canon Laserdisc collection as much as I've enjoyed showcasing them to you. Hopefully it's inspired you to try and pick up a Laserdisc player and some of these discs for yourself, as even though, yes, they're a little bit above the standard of VHS, but they're still worth picking up as a nice, as a cool piece. It really is. It is really cool to have a Laserdisc player. I mean, I love ours. I love our Laserdisc player, and I love our Laserdiscs. It's nice to have a cool collection of excellent movies on the 12-inch vinyl-sized shiny silver disc. But yes, sorry, that is it for this episode of USR1 Retro. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have, and I'm going to be back with another episode soon, so keep an eye out for that. Until then, look after yourselves, take care of one another, and see you in the next video. So until then, this is USR1 Retro signing off. Goodbye for now.